Richard, Jonathan, 60% of properties sell with the second agent. What opportunities does that give estate agents in 2019? Talk to me.
The obvious one is, my goodness, there's a whole load of business out there ripe for the taking, ripe for the picking. People who've been on the market, they're failing to sell, and presumably because the agent hasn't delivered, quite possibly because they've overpriced it to begin with. So for the other agent to come in and take that business from that agent who has failed their client, from a client who is frustrated with that first agent, it's on a plate.
I think there's learning to be taken from why that's happening. So if you're saying 61% of people are switching agents, what is the root? We did our analysis and saw that actually a very similar percentage of those, so 61% of the 61 were having a price drop prior to that. So it's taking that information and working out with your own agency why it is that you run the risk of that 6% risk of actually losing that instruction in the first place. Is it an issue of value? Is it an issue of service? Is it an issue of, frankly, vendors in the UK rarely engage with agents. So does it go back even further than the actual instructions? So it's taking that and it's then using that on the instructions, saying, listen, you may have had agents who've come around and said that your property is worth X amount. Let's just look at the information. Let's look at the details. Things are not selling for that. They're selling for this. And that's where stats come in, I think. I know we discussed earlier that people perhaps don't care about stats, but when stats
relates to them,
substantiate it's specific to them, then there's a huge value. So it's valuable from a prospecting perspective, but also from a data intelligence perspective.
Also from an internal perspective, that's one of the reasons why we don't automatically exclude an agent's own listings from LeadHub when they're doing their prospecting, because it's really good for them to see, oh gosh, yeah, that's one of ours, and it's highlighted in red so they're not going to mail them, that's one of ours and they've been on the market for 8 weeks, gosh, maybe I should be engaging with them because I'm engaging with my competitors' prospects. I better look after these people.
There is actually a school of thought to actually picking up second-hand properties and focusing your attention on that, isn't there?
Absolutely. I mean, the second mouse gets the cheese, is the
I love
expression,
that.
which is a great expression, because we know that it's been on the market with a first agent, possibly overpriced, hasn't sold. It's right there, and very often don't forget the seller really wants to make some decisions. They really want to get moving, and they might be a bit embarrassed about going to their agent saying, sorry, you failed us. So it's part of the closing process almost for that second agent to come up and ask for the business, and it makes it easier for the seller.
Why do you think an awful lot of homeowners don't go back? Let's assume none of the agents are doing any prospecting or canvassing here. Why do you think a lot of homeowners don't go back to let's say a homeowner originally gets at 3 estate agents, goes with one, stays on the market 12 weeks, probably overvalued.
Yeah.
Why do they not go back to the second or third and often get a fourth in?
Really interesting. I think the first that instruction the agent didn't get, they very nearly did. It was almost the flip of a coin, and they just happened to go to the other agent. So they're very, very close to coming back, but they don't, because what happens is agents just stop talking. They think, well, the other agent got the business, sod them, I forget it. So if they just kept in touch, or in fact, ideally, if they continued to communicate better than the chosen agent, then they'd absolutely get their business back.
I find that particularly, Jonathan, when there's a case of overvaluing, where they like our agency, but we say 250, and another agent says 280, and is it because of embarrassment of going back to
it goes back to the Britishness, doesn't it? The whole English reserve. You feel that, oh gosh, I probably offended them at the time.
Me once.
Yeah. So they probably feel reticent to then re-engage, and that's why it's so important for the agent to take the onus there and be the person who's keeping that relationship and communication alive, because it is a relationship at the end of the day.
And automated letters are quite a good. If the agent is reluctant or is a bit embarrassed or a bit scared, just send loads
but also,
of decent letters.
If the vendor is a bit embarrassed to re-engage,
I think that's the big one.
I think that is the big one. That again, it's the Englishness, and
because the vendors already turned them down once, and so they're having to go tail between their legs back, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's easier in a way to get to another agent altogether and start afresh.
But that probably actually gives, if they do end up going back to the agent who lost out the first time round, it probably gives that agent, really good a really good pedestal and really good negotiating power to actually negotiate a good fee and negotiate the price that they know they can sell it at. So they perhaps have a better shot that second time around because the person has failed once. So it goes back to the second mouse gets the cheese.
Just keep communicating. That's the key to the whole thing.
Do you think we're good as
Leave
an
the door
industry
open.
at communicating?
Rubbish. Absolutely rubbish.
Why is that?
Well, for some of the reasons we've mentioned, but again, the type of agents that we employ as well, very front end. I want to get it. I want to get it. I want to get this instruction onto the next. If that one doesn't come on, forget it. On to the next.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, hold on, that's only slightly out of reach. You can bring that back in quite easily. In
That's
fact,
a lot easier to get
That's a
back
lot
than-
easier. It's a lot easier.
You've got all their details. You've got a relationship.
Yeah,
you've got
absolutely.
a method by which you can communicate.
Yeah, for sure.
Work it.
Yeah.
You've got to take advantage of it.
Yeah,
Excellent.
systematically.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Cheers.
Cheers, Chris.